Hello and welcome to the December 9th, 2025 meeting of the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. Great to see everybody. Um, Chris is virtual. See you on the screen, Chris. Your face it's pretty large. Looking good, looking good, excited. Uh, I've got a couple of topics this morning. And then this afternoon, we are meeting with our taxonomy consultative group. They are here in Norwalk. We're excited for that. But first, we need to approve the minutes of our last meeting, which was November 10th. Correct. November 10th, 2025 meeting minutes. If there is no discussion, do I have a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Thanks, Diane. A second.
Second.
Thanks, Carolyn. All in favor of approving minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, minutes are approved, and we can go to our first topic, which is subsequent events. Emily, good morning. Walk us through. We have like a ballot draft project coming to an end, hopefully. Please walk us through.
Thanks, Joel, and good morning, everyone. Yes, today we do have a ballot draft of a final statement. So we will work from attachment A, and this is the last chance to raise anything, so feel free to do so. Raise whatever you've got. We'll start in the standards section. So that is on page 1 of the document. We'll go through and then move back to the front matter. So with that, we will take it section by section. We'll start with the introduction and scope and applicability paragraphs 1 through 3.
Any board comments on paragraphs 1 through 3? No comments there, Emily?
Okay. Next, paragraphs 4 and 5. This is the subsequent events general section. Here, the staff does have a proposed change in paragraph 5 based on some board feedback. So we inserted, as you can see in the markup, we inserted this clause in paragraph 5 as a result of our discussion last meeting to really emphasize that this note disclosure is required in all cases, regardless of whether you have a recognized event or a non-recognized event that would require additional disclosure. So we added that regardless clause at the beginning of the sentence. Based on some feedback, we would like to actually split this into 2 sentences and keep the main focus on the requirement, and then delete the clause that was added and add a second sentence that says that date should be disclosed regardless of whether there is a recognized event or a non-recognized event, which are described in paragraphs 6 through 12. So just reversing the order of those thoughts, moving that regardless idea to after the main requirement.
So the sentence after paragraph 6 through 12 would stay the same, period, and then what you just said.
Correct.
Sounds good. I mean, this was, I think GASB feedback, it was good feedback. Glad we added it, but the change to keep the main thing, the main thing up front makes sense to me. So other board feedback or thoughts on paragraphs 4 and paragraph 5 as Emily just talked about revising. Robert.
I think that's a good change. I mean, I think the addition in regardless is a good change, but flip-flopping reemphasizes the date issue, which is something that we've talked about consistently.
Thanks, Robert.
Well,
Carolyn.
I also like the change, so sounds good.
Thanks, Carolyn. Jackie.
Yes, I'm fine with the change. Works.
Thanks, Jackie. Jeff seems good with the change. Diane, Chris.
I'm good with the change.
Any comments?
No.
Oh, your hand is up.
Yes, absolutely flip it. I agree.
Okay, very good. And Chris, you can just raise your hand, like actually physically, because the way the logo works, when your hand is up, it's kind of hard to see it. I could probably see your regular hand easier than the virtual hand. Thanks. All right. Going once, twice, so paragraphs 4 and 5. All good.
Okay, great. We'll make that change in 5, and then we'll move on to the next section. So let's take paragraphs 6, which is the introduction to the recognized and non-recognized event section, and then paragraph 7 and 8, which are the paragraphs on recognized events. So 6 through 8.
Any board comments on 6 through 8? Don't see any comments there.
All right, moving into non-recognized events, paragraphs 9 and 10. And here you can see we have made some edits to the footnote based on the discussion at the last meeting. Other comments?
Thanks, Emily. Any board comments on 9 and 10, did you say? 9 and 10, including the footnote? Jackie?
My only comment was I thought you did a nice job with footnote. It looked a lot nicer. I thought a lot cleaner. Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. Anybody else? Robert?
Yeah, and I like the emphasis on the last clause of the footnote sentence. I mean, because I think that was an important point that people were, oh, we can just forget about these. No, you have to make an assessment. And I think it's a very minor edit, but the first sentence of paragraph 9, that to make it clear, not will result, but results in something that would be recognized in subsequent periods. So.
Thanks, Robert. Any other comments on 9 or 10? All right, these look good. Thanks.
All right, then let's do, I guess we can just take the rest of the standard section 11 and 12, which are on the notes, and then 13, which is the effective date and transition.
Any comments on the rest of the standard section? Chris is actually easier for me to see on the screen. He's the one I can never see very well, and now I can see him like all over the place. All right, we don't have any comments on the rest of the section.
Okay, we'll move into the appendices. We'll start with Appendix A, the background appendix, paragraphs A1 through A3.
Any comments on Appendix A? No comments there.
Okay, moving into the basis for conclusions, Appendix B, we'll start with paragraphs B1 through B3. Oh, sorry, B1 and 2, and then we'll take the next section.
Any comments on B1 or 2? No comments on those.
Okay, moving into the subsequent events general section, B3 through B6.
Any comments on B3 through 6? No comments there either.
Okay, the next paragraph is on recognized events, paragraph B7, and the staff does have a proposed edit here based on some feedback that we received after the draft was distributed. So looking at line 7 on page 8 of paragraph B7, that parenthetical that read, which based on the evidence provided by a recognized event may be during the financial reporting period ended as of the financial statement date. Some of you made a good point that if it is a recognized event, it would be during that reporting period. I think what we would propose here is to replace that parenthetical with a separate sentence. And that separate sentence would read, that is a recognized event would indicate that the change in accounting estimate occurred during the financial reporting period ended as of the financial statement date. So really just carrying forward and reiterating the idea that generally changes in accounting estimates are recognized during the reporting period in which they occur, and a recognized event helps to inform which reporting period that is. It would tell you if you have a recognized event, it's that reporting period that just ended. So again, I'll read that sentence that we're going to propose to replace the parenthetical. That is, a recognized event would indicate that the change in accounting estimate occurred during the financial reporting period ended as of the financial statement date.
Thanks, Emily. Any board comments, objections to the change?
I
Jeff?
mean, I was fine with the change because I thought the prior way had some ambiguity in it. And I think this solution gets rid of the ambiguity about when it's reflected. It would be in that current reporting period. So I think it's an improvement.
Thanks, Jeff. Jackie?
I also like the change. I think that it's a good change. Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. Robert?
Could you just read the sentence again?
Sure. So it would read, so it ends the sentence, the prior sentence before that says, helps to clarify that recognized events inform the period in which the change in accounting estimate occurs. Period. Then that is, a recognized event would indicate that the change in accounting estimate occurred during the financial reporting period ended as of the financial statement date.
I concur.
Thanks, Robert. Yeah, it seems like everybody's good. It's a good edit. Thank you. Any other comments? B7? Okay. Thanks, Emily.
All right, we'll move into non-recognized events. This is a bigger section, so let's do B8 through B11 to start.
Any board comments through B11? No comments there.
Okay, and then the remainder of that section, B12 through B16.
Any comments through B16? We're good there too.
Okay. Notes to financial statements, B17 through B21. And we have a minor editorial change here in B18, line 16. Creditworthiness should be one word. So an editorial catch there. Thank you. B17 through B21.
Can you read the change again?
Yeah. Creditworthiness. Creditworthiness.
All right. Any comments through B21, Jeff?
You might want to make, if it's credit worthiness, you might want to say credit worthiness and credit quality. Because credit worthiness and quality would be, I think it was when it was thinking that there was a credit quality before it. So, right. So credit worthiness and credit quality.
Thanks, Jeff. Any other comments through B21? All right, that's good.
Okay. Note disclosures and comparative financial statements and evaluating subsequent events in reissued financial statements, B22 through B24.
Any comments through B24? We do not have any comments.
Okay. Cost benefit considerations, B25 through B29.
Any comments on the cost benefit section? No board comments there.
Okay, and then effective date and transition, B30 and B31.
Any comments left on the basis? Looks good.
Okay, and then Appendix C, the codification instructions, can take these as a whole. Any comments?
Anybody have any comments on the COD instructions? We do not have any comments there.
All right, we will move back to the front matter. So starting with the summary. Any comments on the summary?
Any board comments on the summary? No comments there.
Okay, and then page Roman numeral 3, which is the copyright language, and the table of contents on page Roman numeral 4.
Any comments on the rest of that front section? No comments there, Emily.
Okay, I
That's
think
it.
that brings us,
We can vote.
yes.
Just need the board to vote to issue
Yeah.
statement 105. If
That's
that's okay.
Let's do it.
Jeff? I approve. Chris?
I approve.
Carolyn?
I approve.
Diane?
I approve.
Jackie?
I approve.
Robert?
I approve.
Mr. Chair?
I approve.
All right, thank you for that.
And we have hard copy ballots if you need one. So Emma will bring those around if you can sign and I'll collect them. Please. Thank you.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you, Emily. Congratulations, team. It's a lot of a lot of good work. We've made improvements. I think we've hopefully solved the concern that existed before. I think this is an improvement. So thanks for all the work. Excited to have statement 105 issued, and we'll get it published in the next week or two. So, all right. With that, give us a couple minutes of a break and we will transition teams. All right. Welcome back. We are moving on to our second topic, having just issued statement 105. Very exciting. Implementation guide. I was about to say update, but an implementation guide. Lisa, turn it to
Excellent.
you.
Thank you, Joel. And keeping in this line of ballot drafts, this is a pre-ballot draft of an exposure draft of a proposed implementation guide that, of course, is going to focus on subsidies from Statement 103. I'll go through just a couple of high-level changes from what we discussed at the last board meeting, and then we'll take it line by line, question and answer by question and answer for the board to be able to provide their feedback. But broadly, when you look at the pre-ballot draft, you see 3 new Q&As from our discussion at the December meeting. 2 of those new Q&As relate directly to the discussion that we had. There's a new one on published tuition rates, question 4.3, and then a new one on capital subsidies, question 4.7. You also see a third new Q&A, which is question 4.5, that we added to facilitate understanding of the issue of passenger facility charges that you see in question 4.6. You also see removal of one question that we discussed at the December board meeting. That was the Q&A related to housing vouchers for a housing authority. And we removed that Q&A for all of the reasons that we discussed at the last board meeting by pulling that thread on the fees, whether there's a fee and how dangerous that might be. And as a result of that, we removed the Q&A from the pre-ballot draft. You also see an effective date and transition provisions there in the pre-ballot draft, which we didn't discuss at the December board meeting. You see the proposed effective date is for periods beginning after June 15th of 2026. That would mean 6/30/27, 12/31/27, depending on government's fiscal year ends. So, if this follows track with what's in the technical plan for the June year ends, that would mean about a 9-month implementation period that they would have for these Q&As. But again, given the narrow scope that we're presenting here within this guidance, the staff felt that that would be appropriate. You also see a comment deadline of April 27th of 2025 to allow stakeholders sufficient time to be able to provide their feedback on the proposed Q&As. So with that, we will come back to the notice and the table of contents at the end. So let's start in with the actual pre-ballot document and talk about the introduction and the applicability, paragraphs 1 through 3. Are there any board comments or feedback on those 3 paragraphs?
Any more comments on paragraphs 1 through 3? Pretty standard stuff. Good there.
Okay. And then paragraph 4, and let's take the first question, 4.1. This is on the supplemental payments. You can see we added a little clause here in the question, and we added that just to kind of narrow the focus of the question in case there could be a contractual arrangement that actually did have supplemental payments in them. So we thought that provided some clarity in narrowing the focus and the scope of the question.
Thanks, Lisa. Any comments on 4.1 and its revision, Robert?
I like the addition, the clarification. I think it makes it clear that what we're talking about here is that the patient isn't involved here. It's separate entity that's providing and that makes it a subsidy versus a fee for service.
Thanks, Robert. Any other comments on 4.1? No other comments. I like Robert. I think it's a good clarifying addition.
Excellent. Thank you very much. How about question and answer 4.2 on donations for scholarships?
Comments on 4.2? No more comments on that one.
Okay. How about the new question 4.3 on published tuition rates?
Diane.
Well, since this was my issue last time, I appreciate the question. I think it's clear. I think separating the two makes sense. And so I think you did a nice job in adding that one.
Thanks, Diane. Any comments on 4.3? Jeff?
I guess my only comment was having to do with, and I guess the question we've been getting was the tuition rates question. 4.2 seemed to set up for me that there could be tuition or other charges. And so the way I looked at 4.2, I was thinking, well, I guess it could be that I would give a housing scholarship to my school, right? Like I could say, here's a donation. It's to be used to defray the housing costs. So it's not tuition, right? It's housing costs for students. And therefore, the other charges there make sense. And I guess it would be the same logic, right? There may be a published schedule for those housing, room and board, and the room and board schedule doesn't change. So I guess, and so when I thought about this, then the question of 4.3 focuses only on tuition rates. I said, well, should it count the room and board rates? Because it really, I think we mean it because we say it in the answer. But I guess when I talked to staff, they were saying, let's focus on the tuition rates as the question we've been posed. And I guess that's, I just want to make sure that's right. Like we're okay because the answer gets a little more expansive and saying, well, there could be a published room and board rate. And we want you to also treat that the same as the published tuition rate. I think is that making sense to folks?
We intentionally kept it narrow to published tuition rates because
Right.
that's the question we were being
Right.
asked.
Because I asked staff, I said, well, we could do something like he published whatever, tuition and room and board rates based on, and expand it out to this other fee schedule that exists. But I guess I just wanted to check, we want to leave the question to the question we've been asked, and then the answer I think expands it out by including the or other charges in the answer.
I mean, in a way, if I think about it right, and Chris, I saw your hand, but I started talking first. Um, by having the question be narrow, but then the answer broad, it kind of points out that a part of it might be narrow. It might just be the tuition rates that are published, but the direct or indirect change still applies to everything in a way.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
not a
by-
direct, that's the point. It's not a direct, right.
Yeah, and so it's, I don't know, it almost helps to have them not be
Yeah.
symmetrical
Exactly.
because it,
It's not a direct link where one
right.
reduces the other one. It could reduce multiple, either the tuition or other charges. So
Yeah.
that is intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah, it almost helps for it to not be the same to me. But
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to,
Chris, did you have a comment?
That
You're
was
shaking
the
your
same
head
thing
like
I
you-
was going to say. Yep, you got it.
Sorry,
No
should have just
problem.
went to you.
and the only other difference I noticed, and I don't know if it matters or not, but I'll mention it. I forgot to mention this to you, Lisa, when we spoke, was in 4.3 answer, we say, directly or indirectly to keep current or future tuition or other charges paid lower. And in 4.2, we say to keep tuition or other charges lower. We don't say paid. And do we want to say paid in one and not the other? Does it matter to the answer, or would we be better off making them the same?
I think we have the paid in 4.3 because what they're paying is different than the published rates.
Oh, okay.
So the emphasis is tied to the idea that the question is about the published rates.
Oh, okay.
In 4.2, I don't know that it's as needed.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Any other comments on 4.3? This was a new one, so we didn't kind of talk about it with the board paper last time, but everybody's shaking their head. They seem okay with it.
No, and the staff mentioned this and I appreciate it. 4.3 is probably a really, really good add because we have stakeholders that actually believe published rates are very relevant.
Yes.
So we're going to have stakeholders that won't like this answer. So I think it's important to put the answer out there to say it's not about published rates. We thought that was very important to have the question.
Yeah. And I think, in 103, that was our intention. Like, this is a reflection of what we always intended to. All right. Everybody's good with 4.3 then. All right. Thanks, Lisa.
All right, 4.4 on research grants. What you see here is just a reverse order of the two examples that we're providing. Rather than leading off with the nots, we're leading off with the affirmatives and then following with the nots, thinking that that's going to provide a little bit of greater clarity. Two things that I did want to mention that the staff would like to make for changes to the answer here. At the beginning of the second sentence that starts, if the higher education institution receives, we'd like to add a for example before that. So just to make it clear that this is not comprehensive, all-inclusive. These are just two examples of each end of the spectrum for these types of research grants. And then the other thing we'd like to do, if the board agrees, based on feedback that we've received from some board members, is we'd like to delete the last clause at the very end of the answer. So it would end, let's see, it starts on line 35. We would delete from where it starts, but rather result in, all the way to the end. We would delete that clause at the end of the answer. We feel like it's not really necessary. And as Jackie pointed out in her feedback back to us, could actually cause some confusion. And what that will also do is it will make both of the examples that are presented there in the answer a lot more parallel as well.
Jackie.
wholeheartedly support that change. Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. And so Lisa, your first one is the answer starts, it depends on the substance of the transaction. And then it's for example, because everything that follows are examples of the two ends of the spectrum.
Exactly.
Okay. That makes sense to me too, as a change.
Yeah, because really you're setting up this, which is what my question to you was, this notion of used to offset. My question is, well, how much of it is used to offset? Is it a tiny bit? Is it a big chunk? And I guess for example, you could set it up as that would be a big chunk, right? We're over on this side of the spectrum. And then the other example is, well, none of it's used to offset, right? And you have to use your judgment, right, to figure out whether you think it's meaningful or not.
You got it, Jeff.
Chris?
Lisa, can you repeat the but rather piece? Is that just coming out, or did you say you're moving it somewhere? I missed that. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
the proposal, Chris, would be to delete it. So the answer would end on line 35 after keep current or future tuition and other charges lower, period. And we would delete everything from there to the end of the sentence.
Okay. Thank you.
Any comments, other comments on 4.4, including Lisa's two changes? I think I think we're good with that one. Lisa?
All right. Thank you very much. So the next one is 4.5, which is a new Q&A to help explain 4.6 on the passenger facility charges. So 4.5 is on an imposed tax.
Comments on 4.5? Robert?
Yeah, I don't know why I'm struggling with this so much, but I mean, statement 34, taxes are not operating. So, I mean, that's consistent. And I think it does. I think the answer, I agree with the answer to the question, but where I'm struggling is there are business type activities that impose taxes as part of their revenue stream. I mean, it isn't all fees and charges. And where I'm getting hung up is this receipt of goods and services in exchange for the taxes. So are we where, and my other question is, beyond trying to clarify the PFC issue, have there been inquiries on taxes specifically or not?
Not to my knowledge. I
okay,
haven't
okay.
received any. Roberta, have you gotten any specific to taxes?
No, we haven't specifically. This was a way to, I think,
Yeah.
address the PFCs was
okay.
the idea, is liken them to taxes, is all the challenges between trying to describe the relationship between the payment and the services and
Right.
the indirect circular way the services are being received. We thought likening them to taxes was a good way. And we do know that there are some proprietary funds or BTAs that do assess taxes. Taxes are generally assessed on a different group of people than are directly receiving the services, there's not that direct relationship, but there is that. I mean, there is some relationship between the taxpayer and the citizen generally receiving services, but it's not that one-to-one sort of, this payment is related to this specific service. And so that's why we have the direct in some place and direct and directly and indirectly in other places.
For what it's worth, Robert, I sort of maybe struggled a little bit like you were struggling, because, when I initially read it, it sounded very definitive, right? That we were saying you never get goods and services from taxes. And so I started thinking about these BTAs, like a community college district, and they're issuing taxes in their district. And I thought to myself, well, what if one of the people in that district goes to the school? So they're paying the taxes and they're attending the school, right? So I'm like, isn't that getting services? But, and I discussed this a little bit with Alan, was, well, where I got comfortable was, well, they're probably getting a tuition charge too. or they're getting a separate tuition charge, so they're paying their taxes. And so the guy next door who's paying the taxes is not going to the school.
Right.
But he's still paying the taxes.
Right.
Right. So the only situation I could think of where it would, where maybe I would have a qualm. So I eventually got to where the staff was if there was a BTA that issued the tax and said, hey, if you're a taxpayer in my district, I won't charge you. In other words, you could attend my school because you paid your taxes. I'm not going to hit you. I'll only hit you with tuition if you live outside my taxable district. And then I would say, well, boy, that seems like you're really getting a service directly for your taxes. But since I'm not aware of anybody, that's not the way it works. There's always this, yeah, we use taxes and then we use tuition or rates or whatever to collect our revenues. That I would say, yeah, you could make the argument that you're not, like in any other taxation example, you're not directly getting the service for the payment of your taxes. I don't know if that's helpful.
Jeff,
for you.
even your example, still the person next door who didn't get free tuition isn't going to the school.
Right.
I mean, that whole
Right.
that logic still holds.
Yeah, although even if they didn't, I would still have I still might argue a little more if the school said, hey, if you pay taxes, you can go to our school for free, right? We won't hit you with a tuition charge. I would still think, well, then I'm getting goods and services for my payment, right? Because I'm getting the ability to go to this school, right? I think that gets closer to the line. You may still think it's not at the line.
It's still hard if everybody has to pay the tax. It's not, they're not directly related.
Right. And we're not saying they're not getting goods and services. That's not what's said in the answer. It's saying that they don't directly receive goods or services because of the tax. Right.
There's two things going on, I think. Number one is there's a tax, which is a transaction. Then I'm going to the school and paying tuition, which is a separate transaction. They're two different things. I think the only way, and we don't think this exists, but the only scenario we could come up with is if a BTA would levy a tax, and the only people that pay the tax are the people that are actually getting the goods and services from the BTA. But
At that point, it's a fee.
I agree. I
is it
know. I
really-
agree. I was
well,
going there. I didn't get to finish the statement, and then you get to that's a fee, and then it's like that's not the scenario. So the scenario you end up with is they can levy a tax on folks that aren't using the service, or people that aren't. So on a broad swath of folks, that's a transaction. Separately, people might actually use the service and pay a fee for the service, but that's a separate transaction. And so there's two different things. When you think about it that way, you get to an okay place.
Well, part of it that I mean, it's a real life example for my city. We imposed, the city council made a conscious decision for a lot of political reasons that I won't bore everyone with. We can do it over, lunch or whatever later. For our wastewater utility to impose property taxes as part of the revenue stream, and those property taxes were assessed to the same group of users that also had a user charge. So they were receiving goods and services. That was funding the goods and services that they were receiving. Now, it doesn't meet the other part of it because imposing the property tax, it allowed the fees and charges to be lower than they otherwise would have. Which, when 2020 came along and we needed to rob the property tax to fund the general city budget, the fees and charges, the sewer fees and charges went up. So I can get that part of it. It's just, and I think Alan may have hit the nail on the head, and maybe it's a preponderance. I mean, maybe it's, if you have a BTA, I mean, in general, I agree, but I just wanted to raise the issue because I can see a scenario. I mean, I can't believe that the city of Brookfield was the only example among, tens of thousands of governments across the United States that could occur. But it meets the second test clearly because it's the fees and charges are lower. But I think there are instances where a tax revenue stream imposed by a BTA is supporting directly goods and services that are being provided to the users of the BTA. So that's my
guess
hesitance.
Not in every single instance.
Robert, I would argue is still not directly because property tax owner A that has a much higher valued property is paying a much higher tax irrespective of how much water they're using.
Okay.
And so I get it's closer to being provided than otherwise, but to me, it
Yeah.
still isn't directly, but.
I mean, I'm fine with the question. I'm fine with the Q&A,
It's a good
but I just wanted to
discussion
raise the issue.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Robert. Anybody else have comments on 4.5? All right, I think that one's good.
All right, thank you very much. How about 4.6, which is the passenger facility charges for an airport?
Comments on our PFC question?
You can now
Diane.
see how that 4.5 set us up for the revised answer in 4.6.
I think the changes on the answer on 4.6 are much better.
Mhm.
It's much clearer, the split between who's paying the fee and who's getting the benefits.
Yes.
And it doesn't overlap with that whole airport thing. So it makes it much clearer. Thank you.
That's exactly why we did it, Diane.
Thanks, Diane. Chris?
I agree with Diane. This is one that I struggled with earlier on, and so I appreciate the changes because now it's a lot more clear. I understand where Robert's coming from in the last one because similarly, it's where I was kind of struggling with on this one last time around. But I think the language changes that we proposed clears everything up appropriately. So thanks, Shane.
Thanks, Chris. Jeff?
My only hesitation, and I'll mention it, right, is we talk about the PFCs as being fees, right? And I don't think we would want people from, by analogy, saying other fees other than PFCs would be done in this manner, right? Because you wouldn't want all fees to be equated to taxes and be thought of as subsidies, right? So I don't have a suggestion necessarily because I guess PFCs are fees. So I guess we got to say the fee word, but I think we're trying to limit it to the fee here that we're talking about is PFCs and don't extrapolate this out to other fees simply because it's a fee that's like a tax. But I think that could be misinterpreted by some, right? To say other fees can be treated in this manner, which I don't think we would want.
I guess as I read it, they are fees imposed that meet the definition because, and then, so if somebody else had a fee that met this definition, it would still be, doesn't really matter what you call it. It's the substance of what it does. And so I see what you're saying. And I guess we could change it to our charges imposed on passengers, but I mean, they do call them fees. So to me, if you kind of read the whole sentence in totality, I would hope you wouldn't get to where you are getting to. Anybody else on? Good with that one, Jackie.
I'm good with the way it's worded. I think because of the way it's set up, that it's specifically relating to this particular type, I think that limits anybody thinking, it just applies to all of them. So I think the way it's set up, I'm okay with it.
It's Jackie. Chris?
I don't think it makes sense. I was gonna propose some kind of way to include fees and charges above to mirror B, but yeah, they're primarily fees. They're not really called charges. So it's one example of the fees or the charges that would directly or indirectly keep the future, the fees or charges lower. So I was just trying to find another way to maybe mirror than B up at the top, but I don't think that needs to be done because it's one specific example and we're using passenger facility fees. You could use other charges and have another example. So I don't have a proposal.
Thanks, Chris. Anybody else on 4.6? That's our feedback there.
Okay, thank you. How about 4.7, which is the new Q&A on subsidies other than non-capital subsidies?
Comments on 4.7. Which we added because we took it out of another one.
Yes,
But it was questions we got
from the
back from the
2025 IG
2025
update.
update. And so we wanted to keep this part of it, but because we changed in the amended question, just kind of brought it out and made it its own question.
Correct.
Jackie,
I think it's actually really a good addition. It separates it out, identifies it, because I think it is a question that people ask. It's not really that clear in the standard itself. So I think this was a nice addition.
thanks, Jackie. Any other feedback, comments on this one? We're good?
No. Okay. How about 4.8?
Comments on 4.8? Diane?
I like this one, and I think it's really helpful because I don't think we always think about the debt being capital related. So I think it is helpful.
Thanks, Diane. All right. No other feedback on that one.
Okay. How about paragraph 5 and 5.1, which is an amendment to a previously issued question and answer in the 2025 implementation guide?
Comments on 5.1? Robert?
I like the clarification.
Excellent.
Thanks, Robert. Carolyn?
No, and I was also going to say, I didn't have a problem with the previous questions, but the clarifications that you did in the changes that you made in 5.1, I think are really spot on and make it clear.
Thanks, Carolyn. Anybody else on 5.1? Jeff?
The only thought I had here was we could have, through some wording, made this inclusive of 4.8 as well. But I guess in talking to staff, I guess we're going to keep it so that 4.8 answers the question of the capital debt for capitals. You could have made some tweaking to make this cover both, because two capital purposes could have fit under that, its umbrella, acquisition of or payment of debt service of on capital. But eventually I said, yeah, it's okay. I mean, we'll just be clearer and have one for one, one for the other, and rather than try to combine it into one. So I'm fine with it.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Jeff. All right.
Right.
That was good.
Okay. How about the effective date in transition paragraphs, paragraphs 6 and 7?
So you explained your rationale for essentially kind of 9 months if we follow the plan and issue this final in September. Gives me a little pause, but it's an exposure draft. We'll get feedback. If people don't think that's enough time, then we'll hear the feedback. And, you know, if we, depending on the feedback, if there's a way to maybe even speed up the final issuance by using short meetings or something like that and get it out maybe a month earlier or 3 weeks earlier or something, then maybe that even helps give people a little bit extra time. So I'm good with this, but I did, you know, it does seem a little short, but we also want it to be timely and helpful with their implementations of 103. So
Right. I mean, isn't the whole content here stuff they're grappling with anyway? So I would assume
Right.
they want this in their hands. It's helpful. It's not new stuff. It's helping them implement existing stuff. So to me, I think they would want that in their hands as soon as possible, right, to assist.
So the sooner we can issue it, the better. It's just how long before we make it gap actual requirement is kind of the effective date part, but. Any other comments on 6 or 7? All right, that's it.
All right, how about Appendix A, which is the background?
Big section. Any comments? I think that one's good.
Okay. How about Appendix B, which is the amendment to the previously issued question and answer marked for changes?
I just always note every time we do this in exposure draft, we'll get a comment that I love that you included this because it's so helpful. Any comments? They do want
It goes in the final.
too. Yes. No comments there.
All right, then Appendix C, which is the codification instructions.
Any comments on the codification instructions? No comments there.
All right, so let's go back to the front. Any feedback on the notice, which is the first page?
And I don't know that you said this, Lisa, in your opening remarks, maybe you did, but the April 27th, based on our plan, would be about a 60-day comment period, which is very typical for
Correct.
implementation guides. So, any comments on the intro section? Feedback there?
All right, what about the table of contents?
Any table of contents? Comment? Nothing there either.
All right, thank you very much. So that means we need a vote.
We need a vote for the board to allow the staff to move, not to
Exactly.
object to us moving forward to a ballot draft of this implementation guide update.
Please proceed with a vote.
Jeff,
I do not object.
Chris,
Sorry about that. I do not object.
Carolyn,
I do not object.
Diane,
I do not object.
Jackie,
I do not object.
Robert.
I do not object.
Mr. Chairman,
I do not object.
thank you. We'll bring
All
it
right.
back to you in February.
Thanks, team. Good
Thank you very much.
guidance.
That means we'll bring you a ballot draft at the February board meeting.
Appreciate all the changes and edits. Looks good. Let's look forward to the ballot draft and getting it out for stakeholder feedback. So with that, we're gonna pause the board meeting for a while. We're gonna have an administrative meeting as a board, but otherwise, officially, the board meeting will start back at 2:00, and we will meet with our taxonomy consultative group. And then the technical topics after that would start back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
Yes, sir.
is our plan. The notice says 8:30, but we're gonna plan to start at 9 a.m. tomorrow, starting with revenue and expense recognition. So see everybody back at 2 for the public taxonomy consultative group meeting with the board.